From WJZ, this is breaking news.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vic Carter.
And I'm Denise Koch. We are staying on top of breaking news here at 6 o'clock in the case of former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. We're now exactly 2 weeks away from Mosby's sentencing date, where she faces up to 40 years in prison after being convicted of 2 counts of perjury and 1 count of mortgage fraud.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a story that I have been wanting to get to for a while now. Because it's a pretty hilarious story that reveals the hypocrisy of the Democrats and just how silly they can be sometimes when it comes to these accusations of racism, even in situations where it makes no sense whatsoever, right? They just throw it out there as a way to relieve themselves of responsibility and accountability when they are clearly and obviously in the wrong, okay? And this story involves Marilyn Mosby, the former state attorney for the city of Baltimore. I would probably call her Fannie Willis before Fannie Willis was Fannie Willis, right? This was the OG Fannie Willis, okay? But anyways, this woman was found guilty on 2 counts of perjury, which hopefully, Fannie Willis will be found guilty soon for the same thing, lying, okay? Because she's definitely a liar. But anyways, this woman was found guilty on 2 counts of perjury for lying in relation to COVID-19 related financial hardship withdrawals from her state retirement account. Okay, she basically took out funds to go buy luxury properties in Florida, even though she didn't really experience a hardship that qualifies for her being able to withdraw money from her retirement account without penalties. Because usually if you take money out of your tax deferred retirement account early before you're eligible to do so, there is a tax penalty associated with it. But she avoided that by claiming hardship due to COVID, okay? Even though she did not lose any income because she was fully employed at the time. In fact, her income actually went up, but she says, hey, I was going through hardship, so therefore, I need to take out these funds and go buy me some luxury properties in Florida. Yeah, makes plenty of sense, right? And then also she was accused of making false statements in the mortgage applications for the Florida property that she bought by failing to disclose her federal tax liabilities, okay? So she was found guilty on 2 counts of lying about both withdrawals from her retirement account. And then also 1 count of making false statements on the mortgage application. And from the beginning of all this, she has been boohoo, whining, and crying racism, even though the prosecution against her is coming from Biden's DOJ, right? This is coming from Biden's Department of Justice. Democrats, right? Democrat-led. But yet she's saying that, hey, this is racism. They're coming after me because I am a black woman. Take a look.
Behind the claim, the federal case against her is politically and racially motivated.
I've said she's innocent. I'm saying the charges are false, and we're going to prove her innocence.
Mosby is charged with 2 counts of perjury and 2 counts of making false statements on loan applications to buy a condo on the Gulf of Mexico and a large home near Disney World. According to the indictment, Mosby claimed a financial hardship under the CARES Act that allowed her to withdraw $81,000 from her city employee retirement account without penalty.
I'm not going to get into the specifics of that. I'm telling you, she's not only innocent, but we have professionals who she consulted with, and she qualifies on one of those under the statute.
Mosby's attorney says the financial hardship experienced by Mosby in 2020 was a loss from her private travel business. Mosby and officials with the city state's attorney's office has said that business and 2 subsidiaries have no revenue, employees, or clients.
I don't know how you define operational. I'm telling you those businesses were running, and they were being pursued, and they were legally on the books.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that, okay? They started off claiming racism, and then continued to claim racism to the point where they tried to have the case dismissed based off accusations of one of the prosecutors from Biden's DOJ, by the way, being a racist against her. But that didn't work. The judge did not go for that.
I have done things as a prosecutor that a lot of other prosecutors have not done in this country, whether that is holding police accountable when a lot of other prosecutors in this country would not do so, whether that is ending the war on drugs, which we know was a war on black people in the city of Baltimore. I've gotten lawsuits OIG investigations, state ethics investigations. They've been coming for my law license since I charged those officers in Freddie Gray.
We begin there with City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby seeking to have the federal indictment against her dismissed. Her lawyers are once again claiming the case is racially and politically motivated.
We sat down with two legal experts to explain what the filings in the case mean and the likelihood that it is dismissed.
Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby is calling for the case against her to be dismissed and the lead prosecutor removed. This as she faces 2 counts of perjury for claiming COVID-related hardship when taking money from her city retirement account without penalty and 2 counts of making a false statement on a loan application to purchase 2 homes in Florida. In the motion to disqualify Assistant United States Attorney Leo Wise, Mosby's lawyers claim that Mr. Wise has shown repeatedly that he has personal, political, and even racial animus towards Mosby. They claim he's been interested in attacking her since at least 2017. Her lawyers also claim United States Attorney Eric Barron has a negative history with Mosby, saying he expressed disapproval of her both personally and professionally, claiming he repeated rumors about alleged marital infidelity.
Yeah, so the claims of racism didn't work. And what's also interesting, and we should note this, the prosecutor that she accused of racism is also the same guy going after Hunter Biden for his tax issues. And Hunter Biden is claiming that, well, the prosecution against him also is politically motivated. This is what they're saying. But again, in the case of Marilyn Mosby, she was eventually found guilty of the 2 counts of perjury and also lying on her mortgage application in order to get these homes. And again, now she's facing 40 years in prison. Now, would she really get that? Probably not. However, that doesn't stop her from coming out here running this victimhood campaign. Again, boohoo, whining, crying racism, and that, hey, the Biden DOJ, again, is going after her for political reasons because she's too woke, right? This is what she's arguing that, well, they're coming after me because I went after some police officers. Even though the Democrats are the party of being soft on crime and demonizing police, and there are woke DAs all over the place, right, that Democrats support, but they came after her because she's black and because she is soft on crime and went after police. And this is what she told Joy Reid recently, and Joy Reid just ate this up.
It wasn't until after her push to prosecute the officers who killed Freddie Gray that she found herself on the other side of the courtroom, convicted of fraud for withdrawing funds from her own Baltimore deferred compensation retirement account, something 739 other city employees, including 3 people who worked in the same agency as Attorney Mosby, did during the pandemic. Yet she was the only one prosecuted and now faces up to 40 years in prison.
I know that this was politically targeted. Something like this goes beyond Marilyn Mosby. If they can do this to Marilyn Mosby, who had the audacity to challenge the status quo, they can do this to anybody. They can do this more specifically to those prosecutors that have the courage and the gall to challenge the status quo in the way that I did.
Yeah, so again, this is hilarious because if you listen closely to what Joy Reid is saying and what this woman is saying, it seems as if they've taken a page out of Trump's playbook in the sense that they're coming out here and saying things that they have told us for the longest time you're not supposed to say, right? You're not supposed to claim that there is a 2-tiered justice system that is going after people for political reasons. Because according to MSNBC, people like Joy Reid, all of the politically motivated persecutions against Trump are legit. Unless things aren't going the way that Joy Reid wants them to go. Now, all of a sudden, some of this stuff is not legit. Like, for example, Judge Aileen Cannon, apparently, according to Joy Reid, because she won't rush Trump's classified documents trial, she apparently is being bribed by Trump in order to get on the Supreme Court, according to tinfoil hat Joy Reid.
Out of the blue, she gave Trump a continuance.
As the great Lawrence O'Donnell says, Eugene, the bribe is implied. She wants to be on the Supreme Court. She thinks she can get on if Donald Trump wins. She's going to kill this case. It's a catch and kill, as one might say.
I know, but
in the New York
Aileen
terms.
Cannon on the Supreme Court. Come on. I mean, you know, I know.
It's Trump.
I know.
She's done him favors.
Look, I know. I shouldn't put anything beyond the
Amy Coney has about as much experience as Amy Coney Barrett.
Well, yeah, but Amy Coney Barrett's a lot smarter than Haley Cannon. I mean,
there are legitimate and logical reasons for people to say that, hey, what's happening to Trump is politically motivated. Because one, Trump is Biden's political opponent. Trump is being charged with crimes that nobody else would be charged with unless, again, their name is Donald Trump. CNN even admitted that. For example, the classified document case, Biden basically did the same thing. In fact, I would say Biden's was even worse because we know for a fact that he knowingly and willingly took documents with the intent of trying to financially benefit from the tune of about $8 million in book sales from disclosing classified information to his ghostwriter. So we know that for a fact. No charges from the DOJ for that. When it comes to what's happening with the Letitia James stuff, Kevin O'Leary came out here and said, yeah, this is normal stuff that real estate people do, and Trump is being charged for it. We know that Judge Merchant, his whole family is basically full of Democrats. You have people from the Biden administration working with the prosecution, Alvin Bragg, to go after Trump. Alvin Bragg revived this case from the dead, a case that the feds even refused to go after. The last Manhattan district attorney chose not to pursue the case, but all of a sudden this guy's pursuing the case. Look at the Fani Willis case. Again, a very, very, very broad and legally untested RICO indictment against Trump that, again, you know, is falling apart because, again, it's very weak. Look at the E. Jean Carroll case in the sense that Trump basically is being forced to pay $80+ million for an alleged assault that happened like 20, 30 years ago, where there's no witnesses whatsoever, no proof and evidence that it actually happened outside of E. Jean Carroll saying this happened to me. But yet Trump is being forced to pay $80-some million because he's saying, no, I didn't do that. And apparently that's defamation, to defend yourself and deny what he believes to be false accusations that aren't based off any evidence whatsoever. And all of these trials and cases are happening at the same time, right before the election. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that something is going on here, that there's coordination, okay, that there's a conspiracy. I mean, there is an inquiry from the Republicans in Congress to investigate whether or not these people have been communicating with each other, because it's hard to believe they haven't been, considering how it seems like the timing of all of this is coordinated to literally happen right before the election, at a time in which convicting Trump could sway the outcome of the election, which is the whole point of these political persecutions against Trump. There is actual reasons to believe that, yeah, what's happening to Trump is politically motivated. When it comes to Marilyn Mosby, though, there are no real reasonable or logical reasons to believe that what's happened to her is politically motivated. I mean, she did what she did, right? And the people that went after her, again, are being led by Democrats. She was found guilty by 2 separate juries in Maryland, where there's not exactly a Republican state, right? I'm just saying. So again, it's just funny to me how MSNBC, they're peddling talking points that they told us, hey, you can't say this type of stuff. You can't say that the system is politically motivated against you. But if you're a black woman, though, you can say that, right? And you can accuse, again, the Biden DOJ of being racist against you for being too woke, right? Again, it doesn't make sense at all. But anyways, that doesn't stop, again, people like Joy Reid and Al Sharpton and NAACP coming out here trying to defend this woman, trying to relieve her any type of accountability or responsibility for what she did. Because, again, she's a black woman, and black women should never be punished for their actions. And it gets better because everybody knows that the Biden DOJ racist politically motivated theory makes absolutely no sense. So in his interview with Al Sharpton, she's going to try to tie it back to Trump, right? She's going to now all of a sudden magically, it's Trump's fault, right? Trump is the reason why this is happening to me. Therefore, this is why Biden should give me a pardon.
As head of the National Action Network, I joined more than a dozen other civil rights groups in calling for President Biden to pardon former Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. Mosby is facing possible prison time when she goes for sentencing later this month after being convicted of mortgage fraud and perjury. Prosecutors are asking for a 20-month sentence. Mosby's lawyers argue she's been the victim of a political payback for her work as a prosecutor, including a role in charging 6 police officers for the death of Freddie Gray in Baltimore back in 2015. Joining me now is Marilyn Mosby, former state's attorney for Baltimore. Ms. Mosby, thank you for being with us. And I might add that the civil rights groups like National Action Network, following NAACP and others, have made this plea without any urging from you. It is our review of what has happened. I just want to be clear that you, to my knowledge, have not lobbied. I know you didn't lobby me.
Does anybody really believe this? She didn't lobby them, even though this woman was in bed with Joy Reid and all these woke revolutionaries from the beginning. Oh, she didn't lobby me. I'm bringing her up here because I think personally that these are legitimate claims. It is legitimate to claim that the Biden DOJ is politically going after Marilyn Mosby because she's too woke. Because she went after police officers. It doesn't even sound right. It doesn't even sound right. It's just so silly. It's so silly. Again, the hypocrisy, it blows my mind because, again, MSNBC, when it comes to all the claims that Trump makes about it being politically motivated, what's happening to him, they dismiss it. Oh, it's impossible, not happening, or totally 100% legit. But it's totally legitimate to assume that the Biden DOJ is politically persecuting a woke DA for going after police officers. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. This network should be ashamed of themselves for peddling this woman's nonsense.
And anyone in Nan. But your lawyers are asking for probation rather than prison time in this case. They say your offenses amount to personal misconduct. Prosecutors argue you abused emergency law meant to help people suffering financial hardship during a pandemic when you yourself were healthy and employed. What's your response to the pleas around your sentence?
First and foremost, I'm incredibly, as you already indicated, I'm grateful and humbled by the support of the community, and especially from you, Reverend Al Sharpton, and the National Action Network, the 13 other national civil rights organizations, as you've already indicated, National Urban League, Fair and Just Prosecution, Color of Change, and NAACP. It means the world to me to have the support of the community. My hope is that President Biden and Vice President Harris are listening. It's my honor to show up. It was my honor to show up for them, and I need them to show up for me. What I'm facing right now.
Okay, do me a favor. Let me off because wink, wink. I helped campaign for you guys. So now you need to help me, even though I committed this crime. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Reverend Al. And you get this more than anything else, that I'm being penalized. I'm being penalized for fighting for justice. I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing illegal and nothing criminal. My actions were entirely legal and above the board. And as you've already indicated, they're asking for 20 months, but the judge has the discretion of going above the sentencing guidelines or below them. And I'm facing 40 years in prison for simply withdrawing my own retirement savings to buy property, not obtaining PPP loans, not accessing COVID funding, accessing my own retirement savings. And so,
yeah, but you didn't pay taxes on it, right? Again, see, that's the part you're leaving out, right? If you would have paid taxes on it, it wouldn't have been a problem. It's the reasoning behind it is why you are facing consequences, because you lied about why you were doing it, okay? You said you were doing it for a COVID hardship so that you did not have to pay taxes. Now, if you just would have withdrew the money, took the, 10% penalty, right, plus income tax, if you would have took the penalty plus paid the tax and bought the houses, you wouldn't be in this situation. It's the fact that you lied in order to avoid paying the penalty. That is why you have been charged and convicted. But again, let's leave that part out of it, right? Let's not talk about that.
This is an act that 739 people in the city of Baltimore did. This is the same provision that 35,000 people nationally have done. And yet I'm the only person in America that has been targeted, prosecuted, and now convicted under this provision, which clearly is unjust and has everything to do with my policies and my fight against the status quo in this country.
Now, what caught my eye is, as President Donald Trump, he denigrated Baltimore while you were the state attorney. You vowed to prosecute any federal agents who arrested Baltimore citizens during the protest of George Floyd's murder. You were investigated by the Justice Department shortly after, where, in your view, in your view, does that fit into what has happened to you since?
Listen to them trying to tie in Trump. Somehow they got to tie in Trump because, again, the Biden theory don't make sense, right? So you got to tie in Trump to try to make it make sense. Again, this is desperation. It's just so funny to me.
Well, I think it does fit into that. I think, I was one of the first prosecutors in this country to attempt to hold police officers accountable for the death of a black man. You got to think about that. When I did it, then President Trump said I needed to prosecute myself. After the police department sabotaged those cases, I learned my lessons, and we subsequently prosecuted and convicted 33 police officers after that case. When rogue police officers were planting guns and drugs on citizens for decades, my office was one that drafted, lobbied, and passed legislation to vacate the convictions of over 800 people impacted by those police officers. I had the first conviction integrity unit in the entire state of Maryland, where we exonerated 13 innocent black men who collectively served 300 years in prison for crimes they didn't commit. The progressive policies were put into place under my office goes on. And it was very much clear. Donald Trump made it clear. Bill Barr at the National Sheriff's Association, when he referred to Baltimore and those rogue social justice prosecutors, that we will do anything within our power to ensure the rule of law stays into place. He said as much. Former Governor Larry Hogan, when he threatened to defund my office, he said as much. And so those individuals that are far removed from the situation, who don't understand why the federal government would come after me, this is why.
Now,
wow. There you have it, folks. So again, the theory that the Biden DOJ is racist and is politically motivated didn't make sense. So she comes up with this bullshit, right? Claiming that, well, Trump, right, it's his fault because when he was president, the DOJ was led by him and Bill Barr investigated me. And that is why I faced these charges even after Biden took over. Now, I can't keep in mind, the charges did not come immediately after they went after her, right? Or the investigation started, the alleged investigation. No. It came after she committed these crimes. And then 1 year into Biden's presidency, she's now charged by the Biden DOJ. Yet you're somehow trying to tie it back to Trump in this idea that, well, this is because you were too woke, right? You were too woke when it comes to going after police. Again, this is nonsense. This is silliness. This, again, is another example of how these people, they don't believe in accountability. They don't believe in responsibility for certain people, right? If you are black and you have a vagina, they don't think that you should face any consequences or any accountability for your actions. They're going to make up every excuse in the world. They're going to come up with all types of conspiracy theories, and then you're going to have MSNBC float these conspiracy theories as if they're legitimate, when there's no legitimacy to this whatsoever. Trump has nothing to do with this, but somehow they've tied it back to Trump. It's Trump's fault, because blaming Biden makes absolutely zero sense. So again, they got to tie it all the way back to Trump, even though that makes no sense either. Just own up to the fact that you did it. You got caught. You got successfully charged and prosecuted, found guilty by 2 separate juries. Just own it. They ain't gonna send you to jail for 40 years. Okay, you might get a year. Just do what you got to do and move on. All this begging, all this crying racism, all this saying is politically motivated. It just reeks of desperation. I can't believe that MSNBC is stooping to the level of peddling these nonsensical allegations that this woman is levying against Trump. It really makes no sense. But, hey, I'm not surprised. This network is deranged. And stories like this, again, tells you why this network has no credibility whatsoever. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.